Session state. Session and application variables are an important part of the ASP programming. Whether it's developing simple hit counters or developing advanced chat servers, session and application variables are a must-have feature of many applications. A web server, IIS or PWS capable of running ASP scripts. Basic knowledge of ASP. Session object. The session object is used to store variables for each specific visitor to your website. These variables could represent anything from how many pages the user has viewed to their login details. A session is defined as the time from when the user visits your site to the time when he leaves. Session variables die after a visitor closes their web browser. That is, they are not persistent. Variables stored in the session object are available to all ASP pages on that particular website. Common information stored in session variables includes name, ID, and personalization preferences. The server creates a new session object for each new user and destroys the session object when the session expires. A session object is specific for every user and varies from user to user. IIS will maintain these variables when the client moves across pages within the site. Syntax. Properties. Session ID. A long number that returns a session identifier for this client. Timeout. An integer that specifies a timeout period in minutes. If the client doesn't refresh or request any page from your site within this timeout period, then the server ends the current session. If you do not specify any timeout period, then the default timeout period of 20 minutes is used. Methods. Abandon. Destroys the current session object and releases its resources, meaning that if the client requests any page from your site after the session.abandon method has been called, then a new session will be started. Session_onEnd. This event occurs when the session is abandoned or times out for a specific user. Session_onStart occurs when a new session is started. All ASP objects are available for you to use. You can define your session-wide variables here. Example. You can store any value you like in the session object. Information stored in the session object is available for the entire session and as session scope. The following script demonstrates how two types of variables are stored. Application object. The application object is used to store variables and to access variables from any page. All users share one application object. Syntax. Application.method. Methods. Lock. Prevents other users from changing the application object's properties. Unlock. Allows other users to change the application object's properties. Events. Application_onEnd. This routine is called when all user sessions expire and the application quits. This event lives in the global.asa file, which we will look at shortly. Application_onStart. This routine is called when the application object is first references. This event lives in the global.asa file as well. Example. The global.asa file. In the global.asa file, you can tell the application and session objects what to do when the application session starts and what to do when the application or session ends. The code for this is placed into event handlers. Types of events: application_onStart, session_onStart, session_onEnd, application_onEnd. Example. This event occurs when the first user calls the first page from an ASP application. This event also occurs after the web server is restarted or after the global.asa file is edited. When this procedure is complete, the session_onStart procedure runs. This event occurs every time a user visits your website and requests the first page. This event occurs every time a user ends a session. A user ends a session after a page has not been requested by the user for a specific amount of time. This event occurs after the last user has ended the session. Typically, this event occurs when a web server is stopped or restarted. This procedure is used to clean up settings after the application stops, such as deleting records or writing log information to text files. Maintaining client state with cookies. If a visitor comes to your site and types his name into a form, that you might want to remember that information. You may only want to remember it for his current visit, session, or for all subsequent visits for personalization. Like, welcome back, Mike. The term state describes all client browser data for the session. ASP uses client browser-side cookies to remember or persist this data. Cookies are small text files stored on the visitor's PC, usually in %root%/Windows/temporary internet files/cookie:user_name@host_name file. These text files are editable with Notepad or Microsoft Word. Two types of information are stored in the cookie files: client data, unique cookie ID. Client data. The variables that make up the cookie for the visitor. These are stored as name or value pairs, such as name equals John. Unique cookie ID. This allows the ASP session to identify the client browser on page-to-page and visit-to-visit basis. Example,